Hey everybody, I hope and pray that you're doing well. Today as we come to our word from the word. And today that word is start. Start. Now you see that picture of that bridge going across that mountain there. And I don't know if you've ever been up in the mountains and been on some of those bridges before some of them can look rather rickety. And they look like they wouldn't hold up hardly anything. Others that they may look like that, but really you watch people walk across them all the time and you see that they're having no problem. And then, of course, there are others that are very weak and deteriorated, not taken care of, and those would you would surely fall. Now, when I say that, you say, okay, what does that have to do with the word start today? Well, you have to start somewhere. And I think a lot of times as we're looking out and we're seeing that God wants us to get somewhere, but we feel like that we're walking on one of those bridges that's going to fall apart. But really, let's be honest, we know that we can trust God. We know that He's got our best interest at heart in the long term, that all things are working together for His good according to His purposes. And if we'll just trust in Him, right, if we'll understand that He is in control, and if we'll begin to have that reverential awe of Him or that fear of God, then I believe we'll understand that we'll get a lot further in life. And so that's really we're all week long, right? We're going to be dealing with Psalm 111 through Psalm 115 this week, and a lot of these are very very short psalms. I'm going to just pick out one verse out of each psalm this week that we're going to look at. And today, with that word start, we're going to look at Psalm 111 and verse 10. He says, "The fear of the Lord is the beginning of wisdom. A good understanding have all those who do his commandments. His praise endures forever." Now, one interesting fact, especially those of you that had joined us on Wednesday nights for the Psalm 119 study, and of course we'll be there looking at that next week. But that whole psalm is an acrostic with each section of those, which each section of Psalm 119 dealing with one letter of the Hebrew alphabet. Well, here Psalm 111 is also each line here is an acrostic. Verses 9 and 10, there's 3 lines in each of those. It gets us to the 22 letters of the alphabet, the Hebrew alphabet. Now that's just an interesting note to let you know that the psalmist has a point in what he's trying to get across. And we'll even talk about tomorrow. A lot of the theology that he's putting in Psalm 111 is really the application we'll see in Psalm 112 tomorrow. But for today, that last verse, and really just want to look at that one theme, that the fear of the Lord is the beginning of knowledge or beginning of wisdom. The fear of the Lord is the beginning of wisdom. Now, to think about that, that means that first step that we take out on that bridge, that maybe we're a little hesitant about, having that reverential awe, that fear of God. And I don't mean scared, but it's also the point of knowing that God is in control and humbling yourself before Him. That's the beginning of knowledge, beginning of wisdom. Now, I keep saying knowledge, but the two go together, and you throw this in with Proverbs, it's said as well. But to think about that, right? That as we begin to trust Him, as we begin to fear Him in the way, again, not afraid of Him, but the fear and the just lifting Him up as we ought to, having a hard time even putting my words together. When we begin to see Him as we ought to, then we're beginning to become wise ourselves. Now, that's not a moment where we begin to be prideful, but it's knowing that if I will put God in my life, if I'll put Him number one, I put Him as my only priority, really. If I put Him first, then I know that everything else is going to fall into place. So now when I've put Him first, that is the beginning of wisdom, because now automatically everything else is going to take a back seat to God instead of the other way around. Most of the time we are ripping and running and going here and there and trying to stay so busy, sometimes even doing spiritual things, that we forget to put God even in the picture. So here the psalmist is saying, look, what you need to start with, if you want to be wise, right? James tells us, if any of you lacks wisdom, just ask Him and He'll give, and He gives liberally. But to gain that wisdom, and then to later, as we'll talk about tomorrow, to be able to apply that wisdom, it comes first with fear. Fear of the Lord, reverential awe of who he is and what he's done and what he's capable of doing. And if you'll start there, right? That's that word today. If you will start there today, you're going to begin to see how God can pour wisdom and knowledge and application into your life so that you can take each step every day. And it won't feel like you're walking on that little rickety wooden bridge. No, it'll feel like you're walking on a firm foundation. And that foundation is Jesus Christ. God bless you. And I pray you have a great, great day.